So Ravens flock, we are another day closer to football officially being back, and things are starting to ramp up a bit. They put the pads on today. We just saw day 5 of training camp come to an end earlier today. A lot of exciting things were happening, but I wanted to first talk about Todd Monken and Keaton Mitchell. So Todd Monken did a press conference interview recently where he briefly touched on Keaton Mitchell, and he gave a pretty honest answer about that situation, about how they're gonna try to get Keaton involved, or if it's like possible to get Keaton involved. And he basically said that Keaton is going to have to fight for snaps. He's gonna have to fight to get on the field. And essentially, when Keaton initially broke out and caught Ravens fans' attention 2 seasons ago, they didn't have Derrick Henry. The situation is much different now, so it may not be easy for him to be able to get opportunities, which of course I'm sure many Ravens fans are a bit disappointed about. Keaton Mitchell is a guy who we all see massive potential in. We all know he's like lightning in a bottle, extremely fast, extremely explosive. He obviously dealt with injuries that kind of set him back. He spent a good chunk of last year trying to get back to his normal self. We've seen in recent months that he talked about on Twitter that he was officially at a point now where he could finally get back to running over 20 miles per hour again, which got everybody excited because we're assuming that they're going to make it a point to really feature him as much as the other running backs, or not as much, but feature him more than he was featured last year. But with the way Todd is talking, it doesn't really seem like that's super realistic for Keaton, unfortunately. And Todd has a very good point at the end of the day. Like, we didn't have Derrick Henry 2 years ago. With Derrick Henry in the mix, he's a freak of nature. He's essentially an ageless wonder at this point. Like, he's still playing like he's in his prime. So you're expecting he's obviously going to get a lot of the snaps, the majority of the snaps. He's gonna, again, then also you got to keep in mind, as silly as it may sound, now there's that like running that sort of narrative about how, hey, if Derrick hits 2,000 yards, he can get featured in an Adam Sandler movie. And even though that may sound a bit silly, they may actually try to help him get 2,000 yards. That's still a real possibility, especially if he plays as well as he did last year, because to get 1,900 yards behind a subpar offensive line at 30 years old, 31 years old, with having as much mileage as Derrick has already had, it's extremely impressive. It's beyond impressive. It's unfathomable. It's amazing. So that's gonna obviously get in the way of Keaton getting on the field, but then also Justice Hill, right? Justice Hill's one of the main unsung heroes of this team. And Todd Monken clearly loves Justice Hill, which I don't blame him, man. Justice Hill, a very solid player, very underrated player. Like, we as Ravens fans know who he is, but you know the rest of the NFL world has no idea who Justice Hill is. But either way, Todd Monken, from the time he came to this team, it became very clear that he took a liking to Justice Hill's skill set, and he's maximized it. And salute to Justice as well. Justice has worked very hard to reach his full potential, to where now he's a really good number 2 running back. He's low-key better as a receiving back than Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell. And he's also a solid blocker for a guy his size. He breaks off a few big runs here and there. So it's hard. It's very hard to justify taking him off the field if you're Todd Monken, taking Derrick and him off the field to get Keaton in, because you're already getting so much value out of your top 2 running backs. And it's unfortunate for Keaton. I would assume maybe their goal would be to try to see if they could dial back Lamar's running attempts a bit to try to let Keaton eat more in that type of situation. But even then, there's no guarantee that's going to work, because as we know, Lamar at times will just scramble, so you can't really predict that. And then also, Ravens fans would honestly be pretty pissed, because even last season you saw that despite Lamar having like 900 rushing yards, many Ravens fans still felt like he wasn't running enough. You know, like even Lamar's mother himself, apparently, according to him, was like, she was cursing him out because she didn't feel like he was running enough either, right? And now, to be fair, I think most Ravens fans I'm more concerned with Lamar running in very specific situations, like when the game's on the line, they want him to run more. But either way, despite Lamar having 900 yards, Ravens fans, they still don't think that was enough. So I really doubt that. And even, I'm sure even Todd Monken himself may be saying, hey, maybe we could have ran him a bit more in certain situations. So I don't think they're going to really dial back Lamar's running attempts to help Keaton out. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, and I don't wish injury on people, but at the same time, Keaton Mitchell being your number 3 running back is still a great situation. That gives us an insane amount of depth. That in case, knock on wood, but in case of some sort of emergency, to know that a guy like Keaton Mitchell is the number 3, I think that would give us a lot of comfort. That way, in a worst case scenario, he can be more than enough to compensate, while one of our top 2 guys may need maybe a game or 2 to recover from getting banged up at some point. But as far as some other notable things on day 5 of training camp, Mike Green showed out with showing that he has the ability to, despite being a rookie, he can be extremely, extremely powerful. Granted, it's just practice, but we're all gonna overreact, obviously, because we're all just waiting to see this guy. I'm waiting to see this guy on the field, man. He got to play in the preseason, right? Like, he a rookie anyway, so he gonna play. I'm really excited to see how he matches up against other players and other teams in real situations. Unfortunately, Tyler Loop, after reportedly having a good day a few days ago where he was on fire, now it's being reported that he was struggling today. He went like, I think, 4 of 7, and he missed several kicks that were around 42 yards, 38 yards, in the, like in the high 30s, low 40s. And there's still not much to make it at yet because he's still a rookie kicker. I'm just hoping these ups and downs, these ebbs and flows eventually even out, and he could just be a league average kicker. That's why I keep saying league average. I'm not expecting him to come out here and be Justin Tucker 2.0, especially not as a rookie. But at the very least, if he could just be league average when the time comes, we should be okay. But hey, if he's not ready, it is what it is. You got to find another solution. Something else that caught my attention was, unfortunately, it's being reported that Jalen Armour-Davis is hurt again. And I'm not going to say that's the nail in the coffin, but I think that unfortunately for him, I wouldn't be, I'll say it like this, I wouldn't be shocked if he got cut from the roster, because at the end of the day, I barely remember seeing him on the field at this point. It's been a couple seasons of him just unfortunately getting hurt over and over and over again. And when we had our draft, at first I thought that guys like Robert Longerbeam and Bilal Cohn, I thought they had no shot at really making the team, or a very small shot. But with guys like Jalen Armour-Davis still dealing with injuries, that does leave open room for one of those other guys that you wouldn't expect to maybe take his spot at this point. I can see the rate, because at this point you're looking at one of the deepest cornerback room in all of football now, because now it's like, hey, we got Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, Jair Alexander, like Chidobe Awuzie is now our 4th cornerback, like, and he has the ability to be a solid starter. Then you still have guys like TJ Tampa. They just drafted Bilal Cohn and also Robert Longerbeam. I don't know if JAD is going to make it. We'll see. Maybe things turn around, but I don't know. But speaking of Bilal Cohn, he also was hurt. He also didn't practice today. As same thing for Rashad Bateman and Jair Alexander. Jair was reportedly dealing with, I believe it was a knee issue. They said that Rashad Bateman was dealing with some sort of sickness. Like, I guess he wasn't feeling well. Bilal Cohn and Emory Jones also didn't practice. But as far as some notable things from the people that did practice, we seen that D-Hop made an insane catch, a one-handed catch against Nate Wiggins of all people, like a guy who I think is about to really make a name for himself this year as one of the top cornerbacks in all of football. For D-Hop to do that at this stage of his career, that's exciting to see. But Only time will tell if this is going to translate to the regular season, but I'm still very excited. Let me know, do you think Keaton Mitchell has a shot to get on the field outside of special teams? And also, who impressed you the most on day 5 of training camp?